Hello, I'm Michelle Hooksum, and I work with Revalue Investments out of Ypsilanti, Michigan, is where our headquarters are, and I work remotely out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we were founded by Angela Barbash in 2013, based on her very real need that she noticed. She was at Edward Jones, and she really wanted to be able to offer community-based investments to her clients, and that just didn't work within the confines of the broker-dealer that she was working with. And so she left and started her own business that was very focused on what I think today is more widely called impact investing. And so I came on about 2 years ago as the impact advisor and director to help them also look at institutional opportunities as opposed to just retail. We are finding that the retail space is where we think we can have the biggest impact on the wealth gap, which is one of our missions, I would say, as well. We are a B Corp, and so we very much follow that triple bottom line and what is our mission and how are we actually giving back to the community in which we say we want to influence and the systems that we want to change.
So I'm Kathleen Roark. I serve as People First Economy's Director of Engagement, which really just means that I connect with the business community here and support them through our campaigns, initiatives, and help highlight what they're doing in the community. I love working in economic development because it's rooted in connection. So I love that our communities are structured around relationship. One of the things that I'm really inspired by in our community and in the economic development space are the ways in which our businesses can be really imaginative in their collaborations or creative in their place-based solutions. I like being able to walk around the city and just running into folks that I know, or hearing about exciting offerings and events that I know are rooted in people's sense of connection or the relationships that they build and the intersection of their kind of mission within our space.
I feel like when we first started this conversation, and even when I first joined Angela, not many people had even really heard about impact investing. And ironically, I have to thank Local First really for bringing Angela and I together, because it was during my work with you to try to start the impact fund that Angela and I met during COVID. We took a really hard look at, okay, what does the world need essentially, and how do we contribute to it? And what we recognized is that there were lots of individuals out there who didn't have large account balances, but had never worked with a financial institution or an advisor before. And most likely they wouldn't have access to one either because their account balances were so low. There's minimums that are required oftentimes for this kind of work. And so we realized that how can people build wealth if they don't even have access to the tools that help them do that? We came up with this idea of the cohort, which was the idea that we would bring on, we would offer it out at one time, and we would have multiple people sign up at the same time, and that we could do more sort of joint education with them. And so there would be this sense of community right away. The unique thing about the cohort is that we said, you don't have to have a minimum. You can show up actually with a zero balance or a $10 million balance. Really, that's up to you. And that we are going to have the ability to service both of those clients in a very meaningful way.
All right. Kathleen, I'm going to bounce back over to you. Tell me what your motivation was for joining this cohort. And even though you are still actively going through this cohort, what are your current takeaways? What have you learned?
I really heard this opportunity from Michelle. I think some of the things that I'm really taking away, or my learnings up to this point, have been in this broader sense around, trust and some of the vulnerability that we're discussing here, that I'm not alone in some of my sense of navigating my financials or navigating how to have impacts in my community. There are a lot of people in this collective who are bringing that up and who are holding the conversation around how do I do this well? What are my limitations? And is it okay to invest even though I have limitations? And yes, it is great to do that. We're kind of learning around some of that together, and that's been such a great space to be a part of.
If you're so used to doing something the same old way and you don't think you have support or even someone to talk to that you feel safe and trusted, right? That's not going to maybe just judge you and be like, oh, just do it the way you've always done it. That's fine, right? I'm starting to realize this even more every day that I work with Revalue, that yes, my goal, and I think our goal, is to change the flow of capital. That's what I say all the time personally, that is my mission. But the more I'm with Revalue, the more I think, it's also changing the culture, and changing the culture is probably more impactful to change a system actually than maybe, how you set up your bank account or what have you, right? I mean, it's really about changing culture and being able to talk to people and feel like, okay, I think I have this outlandish idea, right? That I want to invest my money in a values aligned way instead of just taking it to the stock market and buying a mutual fund.
Well, as we do think about this as a journey and an ongoing process, Michelle, what are some tangible things that people can start doing to increase their financial well-being?
I think just acknowledging, right, that maybe they want something different. So, and if you do want something different, to take the time to find out what might be out there, right? And it might involve some research. It might not just come to you immediately, but hopefully if you're listening to this, then you know that you do have resources like Revalue. I think to improve your financial well-being, there's a couple key takeaways. One is to understand the difference between like risk and returns, and to really understand that it's the catastrophic risk that can really, change your life, and that can also be avoided. And if you're like, I'm not sure I know what that is, then yes, by all means, come and talk to us. The other big one, I think, like to help increase your financial well-being is to pay yourself first. I think a lot of times we're, guilty of whatever is in my checking account, I'm going to spend it because it's there. So like make sure that you're signed up for, if you have a workplace 401k or a Roth, or, that there's a mechanism that money like basically comes out of your account before you even see it, so that you are maintaining that high savings rate so that you can start to work towards bigger goals, and that you don't feel like you're just living paycheck to paycheck. So pay yourself first for sure. And then probably the last one is just to like Marie Kondo your finances, right? Like to really go through and be like, do I need this? And like, really, what are my expenses, right? I think it's very easy just to get our paychecks and spend it on the things we spend it on, and then wonder like in 5 years, like, how come I don't feel like I want to be where I'm at a place where how did I get here, right?
And Kathleen, kind of a similar question, knowing what you know now, even though you're still going through the cohort, what advice would you give people that want to bolster their financial well-being?
While I'm doing this, I've just been learning the value of tracking what I'm doing now, like not providing any sense of value judgment to that, but just where is my money to that? Like, where's it going right now? Like what is actively happening at this point in time, and allowing that to be a catalyst for where I want to go. So I would definitely give someone the advice to like start tracking what you're doing now, and then start asking some questions about it. If it doesn't align with where you want or hope to see your money go, why is that? That could be a number of factors, or does that align with my sense of value, and trying to uncover and dig through resources that can help you navigate what your value set is. So I think just kind of knowing where you're starting is a big piece of that, and it opens up an opportunity to really look at it through a few different lenses. And there are certainly a lot of free resources out there that can help, but connecting with an organization like Revalue or others that offer similar accessible opportunities is a great place to be.